Hello guys and welcome to this month's Q&A, and again we are going public with the Q&A, and thank you for all of you who are ready here. Anne, Ruhi, Matt, Verve, Rakesh, very cool to see all of you, and I have all of your questions you've already sent in, and I need to actually pause this on YouTube itself, but this is perfect. I can see all of your questions here as well. So what I want to do is actually jump straight in to some of the content I prepared on your questions that you already sent in. And if you aren't aware, you can actually send them in uh, via the posts that I do before the Q&A. So if you want me to cover yours specifically, you can do that in future. But I want to share this with you, and then we're going to do an open Q&A. So if you want to drop any questions in the chat box so long, that is perfect. And Rakesh, I'm very, very well, thank you. And how are you? Let me know in the chat. So I'm going to share this. Please do let me know when you see my screen. You will likely see, let me find it here. You're going to see a presentation. I'm pretty sure you'll see this. There we go. So we're going to be doing this Q&A, and as you can see, I do use Canva. So this is perfect. Cool. So we're going to jump straight into this. But welcome to our second Q&A. And we usually actually do these privately within the community, within the little group that we have. But we've decided to go public with these. Actually, this is what the members also wanted because it drives so much more interaction and new questions. So I'm very happy we can do these like this. We're covering the member questions first and then open Q&A. So you can ask anything in the chat box as well. So if you do enjoy these being public, please do smash like for me real quick, and we'll continue to do these each month. The community itself, or the YouTube membership as it is, a lot of questions come in on this. So what is it? Basically, we have a private Facebook group. So you can ask me your questions anytime, and I aim to respond to those within 48 hours. And then, of course, we have an epic community of people there too. So you can bounce ideas off everyone, run like polls for your, let's say, brand name if you wish, or even product ideas. So there's two tiers to it, and either one you get access to this. Then we have our live Q&As, as you're watching right now. And then if you join the second tier called Bestseller Squad, you get the researched product ideas each month. Usually I'll send out 2 or 3. Obviously I don't have, and there's often questions on this, why don't I just do those ideas? And the truth is there's just not enough capital to chase every idea. So that's what this is. And they're not just random ideas. I actually want to, Bestseller Squad will appreciate this. So this is the best potential one this month, in my opinion. So I'm obviously not going to display it for everyone, but what I'm showing you here is one of the ideas, one of the 3 sent this month as the priority products. And this is actually the first organic line of results. So in this whole products market, this is the first organic results. So this is the first organic result with 30 reviews. You can see 106, 44, and 4. So what I want you to focus on are these areas. And you can see super low reviews, very good price points, especially this year as we go for those higher price areas. And then, of course, monthly sales are very good. So 30 reviews, $70 price points, and 1,200 sales. So I'd say on this one, if anything, the thing you would need to be concerned with is actually inventory management and staying in stock on a higher price product like this. But I just wanted to share this with you to give you an idea. It's not just like random product ideas, they're quite heavily researched. And so let's jump into your questions. I just want to make sure everything looks fine there. Perfect. Okay. And as I go through this, I've put up all of our resources. So toward your questions you've asked, I've put the resources below this video already, some of them, and then I've guessed some of them for the later Q&A. So you can check them all out below and join the membership if that's of interest there. But the first one is from Chris, and this is about using trademarks in your keywords or on your listing, in your title, in your description. Can you do that or can you not do that? And the problem Chris has is that their product is designed to be used with a brand name product or brand name products. So can I use the brand name products I'm compatible with? Can I use those brand names? And actually you can. So here's one of the resources. You can see Amazon themselves say, when you're making statements that your product is compatible with a trademark product, that's absolutely fine. In fact, they even give a potential format of the title you can use and an example using Amazon Basics as the trademark there. So yes, you can do this. And then the other questions on hazmat review, and this is a very good question. So there's two places Amazon does ask for a hazmat review, usually. Of course, your goal is to list quite early and then check if you're going to have that review. So Chris is saying, I moved it from FBM to FBA. So I converted the listing to FBA. I didn't get hazmat, but is there somewhere else where they might give me hazmat? And a great question, because yes, there's two places. The first is when you convert from FBM to FBA, and the second is when you create the shipping plan. So Chris, in your case, I would create a test shipping plan. And if you don't get a request for hazmat review during that, then you can expect it to be clear for hazmat review when you actually ship the products. But really good question, and do check these two areas. And then Rami asks, on the customer favorite, and this is only something members would actually understand, I think, but basically when we do our research, as I showed you earlier, in that market, we're going to choose one product which you should follow closely, based usually on differentiation and price points. Like the customers love this one. Why? Which ones are the customers choosing most? And we're basically giving you a path to follow, something you could do. And obviously, this is the base level. So you're going to go above and beyond that. But it's a path you should follow in the market, a product development route that you can follow. So Rami's question is, if the customer favorite listings aren't showing up anymore on the first page, should I be worried? So not necessarily, because that customer favorite again is a base. So it's something you build further upon. So when you do it, you're not doing the exact same thing as the customer favorite, and therefore it's unlikely you would be falling off of page 1, etc., because you're going a little bit further. So that's what I would say there. Also, should you ask the supplier everything on your first contact with them? So you reach out to them. Do I give them everything? Explain the whole idea just to save time? Now, in my opinion, no. I wouldn't give them the specific details, because when you reach out to suppliers, their first response is going to tell you whether or not you even want to work with them. And in some cases, you'll choose not to. So it's best to keep your full idea to yourself. And then once you know you do want to work with them, or at least you're getting to the stage of getting samples from them, then you can start sharing more of the actual specifics. So I know it's a bit counterintuitive because you do need to work out, can they do what you need? But speak broadly. Don't give exact specifics. So if you wish to combine different things within their store into your new bundle, you could ask them that without telling them exactly what those components are. So that's how I would address that. And then do you take into account the average ratings in a market? That is like the review score. Is it 3.5 star, 4 star, etc.? So usually I won't, but there are standout situations where I would, where it would be a red flag. And this is also a good question because if you see very low ratings, then you know there's a problem with those products. There's a quality problem. And so you should avoid ordering and sourcing that base unit. You should go for something different than that base unit everyone else is selling. So it's also an opportunity, but that's the main time I would use it. And then do you use tools to prototype your product improvements? Let's say it has a additional handle or new packaging or an accessory. Do you kind of compile that using a tool? So I actually do this. In fact, you can use Photoshop to do this very, very well, either yourself or with a freelancer or something like that. But this is a good idea because it's going to convey, without the need for language, exactly what you wish to do. And then on this, if most of the listings that have a lot of improvements that are at a higher price are not selling very well, is that a red flag? Does that mean there's no room for improvement? So the first thing I'd say, I don't think it necessarily means there's no room for improvement, but it is a red flag because you want to give the customers exactly what they want. So you only want to move forward with what the customers 100% desire. And this is a big benefit of our business model is we can look what's there already and say, okay, that's what customers want or don't want. So definitely don't do what they're not buying. So that's not to say that if you differentiate it a different way at a higher price, they wouldn't accept that. But the key for me would be if you see a lot of this, then it could indicate a market where a customer just wants the cheapest one. They just want the basic one. They just have a simple need, buy the basic cheap one. And those are products that we would want to avoid as per our criteria for 2022. And Annie is asking about inventory for a failed product. I remove it from Amazon. Can I sell it elsewhere? But this inventory has an FNSKU on it. So what about that code? Can I still sell it on eBay or even Walmart, different areas? So you definitely can. You can sell it anywhere else. Some platforms will require you to actually cover the FNSKU though. So while other platforms just like won't even have codes. So it's case dependent, but the safest way, simply cover the FNSKU with your UPC or your EAN. So those codes, EANs, UPCs, those are meant to sell your product globally. You can sell it anywhere, retail, online. So it's a great one to put on here. And you can, of course, download that from your provider. Like, let's say you have a GS1 code, just log into the dashboard and you can get that label, cover the FNSKU. And Chris, this is like one of the most important things when you're starting. So, first of all, Chris started with a brand name that was highly specific. So, it really cornered the company into doing certain products. Like if your brand name was Kitchen Pro, you cannot go and sell like vehicle accessories. You see, so this is the problem with targeted brand names. They're called very descriptive brand names. So and And as Chris says here, it was difficult to find products because my brand is so targeted. So this is why I always recommend fanciful brand names, which I'll touch on now. And then the other question is, now Chris has a new brand name to solve that problem. Can I have two brand names on one store, on one seller account? So the first thing, I just want to talk about the fanciful brand name for a second. And I really recommend, if you're not sure what this is, that you check out this video. I'll link it below, but I specifically speak about this and choosing a fanciful name where you can sell anything. So, and it's particularly useful if you're not sure what to sell because it keeps the lines open. So definitely check that out. On the two brands, you can definitely have you can have multiple brand names on one seller account, and you simply enroll them to brand registry as soon as you can. And that way, each time you list a product, you can have a drop down of two brand names or three brand names. So this is totally fine. The one aspect people do get confused on is then what about my seller name, like sold by? So, fulfilled by Amazon, sold by. What is the sold by name? I recommend you keep it fanciful again. And I recommend, if you're unsure, then do something other than your two brand names. Like some people even have like XYZ LLC. You'll see it there just to keep it open. If you're fully dedicated to the new brand name, you can make that your seller name. Or keep it open, see which brand does best, and later change the seller name to that one. And Chris also asks on this, so we are not US residents, but what's the best way to actually create a company, like an LLC or disregarded entity? And there's also different variants of companies and ways to do this. So what are like the pros and cons? So I'll start with the first part. If you're creating a company as a non-resident, then definitely look at these two services. The first is for the US, Clemta, and they're actually one of our partners. You can save 10% using just the code Dan Rogers when you check out there or book with them. So that's below. And then in UK, there's now another one, which I was happy to find recently because I've had a lot of questions on this as well. Maybe you want to set up your company in the UK, not the US. Well, this service is called Launchies, and they also do the same thing as Clemta, but in Europe. So those two are there for you. I know Chris, would be more interested in the LLC in the US. Now, before I discuss the next parts, I do have to give a disclaimer. I'm not a tax professional or advisor, and you should definitely do your own research. These things change all the time, and this is not tax advice. So it is educational. The first thing is on the pros and cons of a US LLC. An LLC that's owned by a single non-resident may not be ETBIS. This is a rule that says, is this business engaged in trade or business in the US or not? So if it's a single non-resident, it might not be, especially with FBA. And therefore, it wouldn't be liable itself for US tax. Whereas another advantage here is it's going to make life a lot easier for Amazon verification. Also, if you ever need US credit, it's a US company, and it gives you a US bank account, and that makes paying suppliers very easy. And I want to stress this one because it's something I realized later, but if you can pay suppliers in USD, it is the best way to do it. Outside of maybe having a bank account in China, if you're doing, Alibaba, because there's often currency conversion fees, etc. Maybe your supplier doesn't have a euro receiving account or a pound receiving account. And so you're going to incur a lot of conversion fees. So it's just another pro. And most buyers of Amazon businesses in the US prefer US LLCs. So if you ever do sell the business, that's a benefit too. But the thing with your situation, Chris, is that you're partners, and partners to a US LLC, even non-resident partners, make it more complicated. And I don't know all the inner workings, but what I do know is the single owner is quite important. So another option, although it's complex, it's an option because I've spoken to uh, individuals in this field, but you could also create a local company, let's say in your country. That's a single entity, and that owns the US LLC. So it's still a non-resident single owner LLC. So that's just an idea as well. Also, an LLC is like a pass-through tax vehicle. So it means the LLC itself is not taxed. Usually the profits of the LLC are taxed on the owner of the LLC. So that's usually how it occurs. So it's passed through to the individual who owns it. So therefore, like the very best is if you're a single owner, a single non-resident owner who lives in a low personal tax jurisdiction, because it's going to pass to you and then it's personal. So that's just another idea. But again, all of this changes. Please do your own research. It's just stuff I've worked out in my research. Also, let's say you live in a country that has a very good corporate tax structure, like a good company tax structure, and your country is accepted by Amazon, then it's definitely worth weighing up both, like your country's company tax rate or corporate tax rate, and then also what happens if we do the LLC. It's definitely worth it. I wouldn't say the US LLC is better in every single way. So also consider that. But it's a great option for those in like non-Amazon accepted countries. In fact, it's like one of the only ways. So that's why Klemter and Launchies are very good services to have. Because a few years ago, we didn't even have those. And then Abdallah, last one before we go to Q&A. So what is your advice for launching a seasonal product? Think 1 month season, like a really short season. My inventory is on the way. The first thing I'll do is find the seasonal keywords. Okay, it's obviously going to have a lot of seasonal keywords. It might be Valentine's Day gift, something like that. But I would include all of them on the listing. And then you also want to create your PPC campaigns as per this 2-part series, in my opinion. This is exactly how I do my PPC. Works very, very well. So I'll link these below as well. If you haven't seen these ones, I think these are probably the most popular videos on the channel. And they took a very long time to produce. So definitely check these out if you're struggling with PPC. Then what I would do is I'll also create a main image. And I know people are going to disagree with this. Some will disagree because it is like Amazon doesn't like this. But I think if you're selling for 1 month, it's worth having a split test. And you create a main image which kind of has the season in it a little bit, as you can see over here. It's not meant to be like that, but you know what I mean. It jumps out. It's worth split testing. That's all I'm saying. So that can be something you work into the main image as well as a split test. And then it's likely giftable if it's like this short of a season. So definitely make sure the main image shows that. This one did it very, very well. You can see that's an awesome gift. And of course, you'd want to build out the product in this kind of way so you can have it on your main image like this. And then lastly, for launching specifically, once that's in place, all of that stuff, I would look at an influencer launch on Amazon Live. And we covered this very recently. I'll link the video below. It's already linked there. But this is a powerful, quite low cost way to actually get your product endorsed by an influencer in your space. And people will be on Amazon Live checking this type of thing during a seasonal area like this. So that could be very good as well. And let's jump straight into your questions. So I'm going to stop sharing here, jump back to you guys. And there we go. And hello, everybody else who has joined us. Wow, this is awesome. A lot of people. And let me see. So, Gareth. And before I get to that, Carl Dip, awesome to see you here as well. Last time I saw you was in London. Yes, I remember that event. Awesome. And Gareth, so hi Dan, my order is in China is on hold for Chinese New Year, but they are listed on Amazon Seller Central as waiting delivery. Okay, I see what you're saying. So the listing says waiting delivery. Is there a time limit before Amazon will remove my product? No. So they won't remove the product. It's just going to be there until your inventory arrives. What I would suggest is you can go to Manage Inventory in Seller Central and click Edit next to your listing and Close Listing. Not delete listing, just close listing. If it's a brand new product, then you don't have much ranking to lose, but it's a good practice to get into, because if you do, say it's your third order and you have ranking, you can protect that ranking while you're out of stock by just closing the listing. Then once the inventory is about to arrive, you can just click relist where the edit button was. So that's just a tip, but no, they won't remove the listing. And Mr. Athari, I can actually show these. When do I buy the barcode? So you're going to buy that barcode before you list the product. So that's quite important. And you want to list the product quite early, because you don't want to pay suppliers before listing. Because what if you can't sell the product for any reason? So it's quite important you list early with this barcode, clear any issues, as we covered with hazmat review, and then you're good to go. You'll have more confidence in paying suppliers. Okay, and Amazon Learner. Hi Dan, can you please tell me the PPC strategies for newly launched products? I would follow that exact same series that I touched on now. And Rakesh, for selling on Amazon US as an international shipper, is there any additional documents required to ship products to the FBA warehouse? As an international shipper, no. So there's no additional. I actually saw another question like this recently, which was basically saying, so I'm from this country. Do I need like additional documents to anyone else? And no, it's really between two parties, your supplier and then the freight forwarder, and they will sort everything out. And again, your supplier might have a partnered freight forwarder who does that for you, or you have your own freight forwarder. But that's who handles the importing and the exporting and importing on both sides. But it doesn't. You won't have specific requirements because of your location. And this one, we have no reviews on our product as it's newly launched. Should we run PPC on it? Will it convert? 100%. I would definitely. Even before, because the only way you're going to get reviews is by getting sales. So this is the toughest part, but you definitely want to drive sales. And in some markets, you will drive multiple sales. If there's good ease of entry, you'll drive sales, and that's your opportunity for reviews. So yes, definitely. And ADC, awesome to see you here. And can I operate two brands, one account? Yes, 100%. Rewind this. We actually went over that as well. Hi, Dan. I found a product that's plastic and has to have a mold made. Can you tell me the process I need to follow to have the mold made? So, some what you need to find is a CNC machiner and molding company. Well, they often do CNC and molding, both, but it could just be plastic molding, and they will produce the mold for you. That may be your actual manufacturer, but it may have to be a separate manufacturer. Either way, what I do recommend, and you can find them, just many of the suppliers on Alibaba actually do CNC machining and molding. So you just have to find the correct manufacturer there in your niche. So that's the place to find them. And then when you create the mold, what I would highly recommend is inlay your brand into the mold. So, when it prints it, I need a good example product, but it actually, when it prints the mold out, it pushes your brand name into the mold. And that way others can't reuse your mold. And a mold is like what cuts the product. What's going on with the stock market? What's going on with all the markets? It's buying time. It's buying time for sure. Thank you, brother. It gets easier. Is it just me, or do other people hate the sound of their own voice? At least at first, when you hear it back. Is it okay to launch two products at the same time? This is actually a very good question. I'd say no. And the reason why is there's two major reasons. The number one reason is that you're going to make some mistakes, and that's fine. They might not be like critical mistakes, but if you do two products, you duplicate all those mistakes. The second, probably even bigger reason, is that cash flow is usually not acknowledged enough in this business. Because if you please do watch the cash flow video we just released. We released it on Tuesday, and it explains this exactly. It's the best way I can explain it, actually, is through that video. But basically, there's going to be certain times where you have cash flow pinches, and it's very normal, but it might require an extra injection of cash here and there. So if you do one product and you have that safety net, you're going to be better off. Also, it gives you additional capital to work with in terms of launching the product in different ways, as we went through with Amazon Live. So I highly recommend one product. Also, personally, I don't like more of like the scattergun approach. I think it's because between those two products, one of them is likely going to be a better potential product. So that's what I would say on that. I would do one. Should I advertise my inbound inventory that has not arrived at the center? So you will not be able to do that because it needs to actually have active sellable units, and then you can do that. And hello, Tatiana. I started to sell on Amazon in April 2021, individual seller. From November 2021, I switched to an LLC. What type of taxes do I need to pay? Disclaimer time. So it depends where you're based. It depends on quite a lot. But let's say you're based in the US, it's usually a pass-through vehicle. So it's usually on personal. The profits, you declare you file taxes, and then there's profits over and so you deduct all the expenses, etc. Usually it's a pass-through vehicle, an LLC, but not always. There's different ways you can structure them. And so individual or LLC, it's just going to be, the books will be a bit different on the business expenses and so on, but it usually is pretty similar. But if you're based abroad, then it's very different. So I can't give a full answer on this. It depends on quite a few factors. And Gag asks, how do I get approved in the automotive category on Amazon? So the best way, almost for any category, by the way, is get selling. So do an ungated category, get sales history, and once you have a bit of sales history, you can literally go in and just request like every category, and they approve a lot of it. So it's not difficult as long as you have sales history. And Hussein, can I open an LLC in the US on my native address, or do I have to purchase a virtual address for launching private label on Amazon? So, with the LLC and the packages, it's going to have a registered address in the US. And this is something that, for example, Klemter will help you do. So, the company formation, address, bank account, all of that. So, I highly recommend that. That's going to be the best option here. And hello, Juan. Juan. Oh, yes, I remember that. Thank you for sending that in, the orgone pyramid. And you have doubts about PPC strategies after launching. Have you watched the two-part series? Okay, so the automatic campaigns run each 2 weeks. They give me 10 new words that usually make one sale. Do I continue to add the words that made only one sale to the other campaigns? So, Juan, the big thing with the automatic campaign is you only run it for 2 weeks. You don't like keep doing the 2 weeks. You only run it for 2 weeks. Or you could run it for 3 weeks, but it's a once off. And then you move everything to exact match. So if it brought in only one sale, it depends how many sales you made on the other keywords, the targeted ones, for reference. But let's say some of the others made like 2, 3 sales, your good ones. Then I would move this one in there and just continue to see how it performs in exact match. But you don't want to always be running automatic or broad campaigns or phrase campaigns, because you end up being run for things that just don't convert. You only want to run for what converts. Yes, definitely. Schwam. I hope I'm getting these right. So definitely run exact match campaign. Definitely run an automatic campaign in the beginning, like 2-3 weeks, and a broad campaign, 2-3 weeks. Then you shut off automatic and broad, and you take your keywords from there into exact, the good ones only. And then you only continue with exact match campaign, super targeted. But that series will explain it fully, link below. Part 1, Part 2. What's the main thing you look at when trying to find a product other than competition reviews? Differentiation potential. Definitely. More important than even reviews, I would say. Or competition sometimes. But if you can really make a product better, genuinely better, and visually better is even the best, because then you can have it on the main image, really just jumps out. That's how people buy. They don't read. They like to look at stuff. So it's like this. If I wrote this live out, no one would read it. They like to watch or look. So the definitely, how much can you change the product valuably in a desired way the customer wants? So that's very critical. You don't want to just add an accessory because you think that makes sense. It's got to make sense for the customers. And a really big way to know does it make sense is look at things like frequently bought together, what the customers buy together. With Helium 10, is it worth an upgrade to get access? Helium 10 is very good. Helium 10 is an amazing tool, especially if I often get a lot of questions on like keywords. If you like keywords, then it's a great bundle because you literally have like all the keyword research you can imagine, plus your product research and other facets. So yes, it can be worth it if that's your niche or that's your interest there. Those, like, it's a full suite. That's the thing with helium 10. Although expensive or more expensive than the others, it has a lot more tools. Yes, right below. Hussein. So I linked both. Well, there's one for US LLCs, Klemta, but it is linked below for you. What type of lawyer or to write the LLC? So Klemta. I would definitely go with Klemta. John, I'm not sure if I understand your question fully, but Klemta, they are the ones to form the LLC. In my opinion, they're the best. They make it the simplest. Okay, so this is a good question. Should I worry about insurance when I'm starting? Like, and this refers to product liability insurance. So if something goes wrong with one of your products with a customer, something like that, product liability insurance, usually $1 million in coverage, is going to cover you. Amazon requires this with sellers after they pass $10,000 per month, and they're getting very strict on it. So they'll even send emails now and say, hey, we're going to restrict your access if you don't show us proof of your product liability insurance. So definitely look into that. I'm going to link one. I will link two below for you. I have not done that yet, but one for the US and one for the UK. And it is worth shopping around. But remember, at about the 10,000 per month mark, this usually costs about $400 to $600 per year. So it's kind of where you can expect the pricing of that once you get to that level. It can be high, so shop around. I was paying 1,500 and shopping around, it's not like 400. So definitely do some research. Do I need to hire a CA or tax advisor to deal with the taxes while selling as an international seller? So no, not necessarily, but it can obviously be massively helpful. Like, accountants are expensive, but they're, in my opinion, for me, they are like the most worthwhile expense to, understand all of the jargon and exactly how to do things properly and cost effectively as well. So right in the beginning, Arunima, probably not, but then as you start to scale, it could be worthwhile. Best ways to gain reviews in a short time without Vine. Do you recommend Rebate and the other websites like it? So there are certain ones like Rebate, which got in a bit of trouble. So I wouldn't go like for that specific thing. I wouldn't go there. There are others. This video got a lot of flack. I did a video on one. I will link it below. And some sellers hate it, some sellers love it. But it's a focus group method. So there's focus group testers who test your product and can leave a review. They don't have to leave a review, they can. So there are those. I mean, that is the best for a short amount of time gain reviews. But it has a price tag, has a proper price tag too. But I'll link that below. Other than that is create an epic product. Start at a good price. That's going to, shift the value equation. I gave up very little for an amazing product. That's what you can do organically as well. Also, influencer launch, that's linked below. That your product is then endorsed by an influencer that audience loves. So that gives you a better chance of getting reviews as well. If you know what I mean, there's just a bit more trust, credibility. So that's worth looking at also at a lower cost. And hello, Curious. And CJ from SA. Awesome. When was the last time you visited? CJ, I am actually in SA currently. So I'm visiting right now. Where about in SA? You got it, Verve. Most expensive product sold, manufactured a product in SA, and it so you manufactured a product in SA and it just landed at Amazon. By far the most expensive I've ever sold, 170. So that's super high, $170. I would want to ask what your manufacturing cost is on this. That's very high. So right now, I wouldn't say there's like a maximum, like the range you should look at, but I would say 35 should be a bare minimum right now, just based on fees and absorbing those fixed costs, and then upwards. 170 is really high. I have not sold at that level per item, uh, but I'm really interested to see how it does go as well, and what the cost is. The big thing there, I think, is your manufacturing orders and funding those effectively, or managing the inventory with like a smaller pool of inventory. And Rafa, do you know what cross-border fulfillment is between the UK and EU? Or do you know if cross-border fulfillment UK to EU will relaunch in March? So Rafa, I'm not sure. This is a murky area because the UK left the EU, of course, and it's made all the cross-border fulfillment programs much more difficult. So I'm not sure exactly what is going to happen with this, or if they're going to change it in some way to make it easier. But this is definitely something to keep an eye on as well. It's also, if you are starting in Europe, it can be a good idea to choose Europe or the UK now. It's a bit separate. It's a good idea to just start with one and then expand later, just so everyone knows, because that cross-border fulfillment is more difficult. And hi, Dan, have you tried Atomic from Helium 10? Is it worth an upgrade to manage PPC? So I haven't used this specific one. I'm actually busy testing a different one. That's the main reason. And then I'll share with you guys the results in a video probably. But I'm testing a different one. And then if that does well, if people enjoy the results on that one, I can do Atomic as well. But I've heard a lot about this. If the past is anything to go by, it will be very good. When can we expect shipping prices to drop to normal levels? Never. I don't know. My expectation was the middle of this year. From last year, I expect the middle of this year is when we can maybe expect it, because it's been worsened by Q4, and now it's going to be worsened by Chinese New Year. And then I think we might be, start to see a little bit of easing there. So that's just my opinion. And Francine, I created my first listing for my first product, which will be shipped in April. I set my date to 5/5/2022. It's a dummy date for now. Should I focus on one product, one variation? Yes, definitely. I like that, because if, let's say, it's a color variation, then definitely try and choose the one which sells best. And you can probably determine that by when your competitors run ads, which color are they running as the ad? It's probably the one that converts best. So that's what I would choose, and I would do one. That way you make mistakes on one and you have additional capital for cash flow pinches, anything like that. If there are 100 cartons in an FBA shipment, each carton gets the FBA label. The freight forwarder gave 100 tracking numbers, which are random. How do I put them in? On Amazon? So you're just going to have to sling them in. I think, well, Abdul, the thing, if the cartons are all the same size, same contents, there's no problem just putting them all in randomly. However, freight forwarders usually don't do that. They usually will actually give you, well, it depends on the shipment type. but they'll actually usually give you one label. And people often ask about that. They're like, I only got one label, but I've got 10 cartons. Then you put the one label in for all 10. So maybe ask your freight forwarder if there's not one tracking label you can insert. If not, you're going to have to just put them all in. Hopefully, the cartons are equal, like the same unit, same size, because then it wouldn't matter. If I make my own products and I want to sell them on Amazon or Shopify internationally, what are all the things I need to keep in mind while dealing with inventory and cross border fulfillment? So, Arunima, the big thing with handmade products, it depends if it's handmade, because then they're all unique, and that can represent a problem when listing on Amazon because the products are all a bit unique. So you can't have like an inventory of like 50 units because they're all a bit different. That's why you see a lot of handmade stuff on Etsy or even eBay, because it's slightly different marketplace. It's not the exact same units often. So that's one thing to consider. I know Etsy is growing rapidly, so I'll definitely look into that if it is handmade. However, it might not be handmade. They might all be exactly the same. You just are making them. Maybe you have like a little factory or your own operation, which is fine too. The big thing is just going to be your capacity. I trained a couple a few years ago, and they did this. They manufactured their own products, and eventually they got like $500,000 in revenue a year, and they completely maxed out their production. And I'm sure they maxed out their energy reserves too, because this takes a lot more work on your end. But at that point, they literally couldn't go any further. Like, that's what they could produce. So that's another thing just to consider down the line. You will need to, create supply chain efficiencies so you can scale. Yes. So Afik. So there are a lot of changes in referral fees across the board, actually, and FBA fees. I'm actually going to be doing an interview next week, which I'll share with you guys on the channel on all of this, all these changes, because I don't know them by heart. And hello, Rafa. Oh yes, we covered this one. So the only customer review I have is a 1 star. That is the worst. Sorry. And the customer must have gotten a damaged product when it was returned to stock by Amazon after it got returned. Is there a way to remove it? There is one way, but it depends on what the nature of the review is. If the review itself is about the product, then it's very difficult to remove. If the review is about you as the seller or something like that, like it should have been seller feedback, then you can ask Amazon to remove it because it should have been seller feedback. But other than that, it is difficult. You can also look at when that review was posted. They probably received the product like 3 days before, and check your orders on Seller Central and see if you can match up the customer name to the order. And then you can reach out to the customer and offer them a refund and explain that you understand they must have got a damaged product. That's another potential option as well. But don't directly ask them to change it. Like, just review TOS, and but refunds often do help. And Verve, we used a UPC code in our first product, decided to continue with the same type of code for the second instead of an FNSKU. What's your opinion about UPC versus FNSKU, and which is better? So you can do either. Verve, UPC is good in case you say you expand to retail. Now, in retail, you don't have to have this pool of inventory with FNSKUs for Amazon and this one with UPCs for retail. You can just have UPCs across the board. So there's benefits like that in terms of inventory management. But this is fine. You can do this as well. And Pilar, I've been following you for 2 years. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. No question, but thank you. Yes. Yes. So Afik will do those fees next week for sure. Can you do FBA from the Caribbean? Depends. I'm not sure if that one is on the accepted list and where in the Caribbean specifically. But they do have a list. If you type into Google Amazon seller registration accepted countries. Why am I not finding any product to sell using all the software? I watched your video about research. They're definitely there. They definitely are there. We'll be having another product research video soon as well. That is crazy. So that's a good success story there. I'm not going to read it all out. 6 products. Okay, well, 6 products at 10K each as his first products and made 230K after 8 months and launching another 3. That's awesome. And it sounds right, about 10K. It must be higher price products as well. So this is a really good question, Abdul, and I'm not certain on it yet, but it's these 360-degree view like videos, images on the listings. And it's a little bit similar to, I think, how videos on the listings was released first to certain, I think, like vendors, certain sellers, and then to everyone. Well, brand registered sellers. I think it's going to be the same, but you're likely going to see this for brand registered sellers once it's rolled out. But I'm very interested in it because, again, this is very visual. This is how people buy. So I think that's going to be big. And the providers of those, if you want a different business, you actually shoot the 360 videos or photos. Reviews for a new product, we covered that earlier. Sorry, guys, I'm going to fly through this because otherwise it takes very, very long. A good alternative to Alibaba. It's really difficult. I like Alibaba. I have very good experience with them. So I can't give a full alternative. I would wait instead of going with an alternative, unless you are sourcing locally in your country. Yes, Amazon Global Logistics. I haven't used them before, but Seller Central gave me a quote, much cheaper. What do you think? So Amazon Global Logistics basically becomes your freight forwarder. So you don't have a freight forwarder, they are your freight forwarder. And the big benefit of this is tracking. Like someone brought up tracking numbers earlier. When you use this, let's call it AGL, Amazon Global Logistics. AGL will handle all of that tracking for you. So you don't have to go put them in, etc. It's only available China to Europe and China to the US, I believe. So if you source elsewhere, it won't work. It's for those routes, as far as I'm aware. So it's definitely worth looking into. They also become your freight forwarder. Soon they'll be your supplier as well. How much money required for Amazon FBA US market? It depends, but my opinion is about 6 grand. If you want to do like a higher price product in a decent quantity, well developed, everything in about 6. I also have already linked the costs video below. So you can check those out. It gives various quotes depending on what you do or don't include. And that's for private label. So it's developing your own product. What would be a better product research method than the 999 method? So many, Tariq. 999, that's like, I remember doing that when you, uh, so what the 999 method is, because a lot of people might not know what that is actually, is when obviously so you go to a competitor's listing and you buy their product, but in the cart you put 999, like the max, and they won't have 999. Well, they might, and then it doesn't work. But if they have 800, cool. And then you go do the exact same thing the next day, same time, and it might be 790. And you do the exact same thing the next day, same time, 780. And now you know they sell 10 every day because that's how much is left. So it's a very clever method. They actually stopped allowing us to see this though, um, on a lot of listings, and you as a seller can also block this. So uh, yeah, but I do. This is a cool method for other platforms as well outside of Amazon. But Tariq, definitely, there's a lot of software tools which will give you like more insight. Um, Also linked below as well. Jungle Scout, AMZ Scout, Helium 10, all very good. How much money would I need to rank for PPC to rank on the first 3 pages for a product that's selling price is between 2028? So it doesn't matter what the sell price is at all. You're going to pay a cost per click. And the more competitors you have running ads, the higher the cost per click is going to be on your keywords. Really impossible to say how much money you would need uh, in order to rank. It's so varied because a lot of the PPC spend will come out of your sales eventually. Then your PPC becomes profitable, so you don't actually need extra money to do that, the PPC ranking or PPC sponsorship. So it really just depends. I always recommend having an extra budget to start with PPC of about $250, $300 just in the beginning so you can cover additional ad spend if your sales don't pay for it. Um, but yeah, I can't say exactly. So Hale, I gave you that one. How to hunt? Okay, how to hunt a brand on Amazon without tools or with tools. So with tools, we've done so many videos. I'll link those. Without tools, one very cool way is the 999 method we just covered. And also you can use the Amazon bestsellers list. So you go in there and work down through the categories there of which are the best selling categories in like the little sub niches of, let's say, kitchen, all the way down to stainless steel kitchen utensils. And look in there. Okay, yeah, Verve. So what do you think about creating the single keyword PPC campaigns or each keyword separately? Yes. So this is not something I personally do. I do it exactly as per those videos I shared below. But I have heard a lot about this from very reputable sources. So it's something worth testing. And I will add it to the schedule. But I have not tested it Verve, so I cannot say yet. But it sounds good. And thank you, Hassan. Okay, so Abdel Rahman, it's your listing showing where the country of origin is, and you're wondering if you can hide it. So I'm unsure. It may be some new legislation where they have to reveal to customers that it's made in China. So I'm unsure on this one. 5K, 5K, 4K. Yeah, you could. Helium 10 or Jungle Scout. So both are amazing tools for very different reasons, really. Helium 10 is more expensive, but gives you absolutely everything. Keywords, like everything you can imagine. Jungle Scout, on the other hand, is one of the lower price tools, but is still very good at research. I also love Jungle Scout's on page analytics, which you're probably tired of me talking about, but I love to see, as I showed you in the screenshot at the beginning of this, the sales numbers on top of the product. So I don't even have to open an extension or click in. I can see the sales. So both are very, very good. It just depends what you're looking for. If you need basic, you need really good data for the basic stuff at a lower price. Jungle Scout's awesome. If you want like the most full-on suite professional tools covering everything, Helium 10. Okay, let me see. Be nice. See some banter in the chat. Okay. And Wesley. So I can also link a video on this. I'm going to have to watch this back to put all of these here. But on the shipping plan, we did a new one on the shipping plan because Amazon updated like everything to do with the shipping plan. But it's even easier now. But I will link that below as well. It's actually very easy to do. None. So how many friends or family can review your product before Amazon catches on? Imagine I put a number on that. No, I have no idea. But it's the theory is they track it through social media. So if your friend is friends with you on social media, they can track it. If they have the same last name as you, that's a problem. So there's a few issues that can come up. I mean, if you're going to do it, I would say it's probably wise to spread it out, but it's not allowed. You want to create a parent for 2 listings that already exist. But when creating, I'm not sure the inventory quantity I should use as FBA. I think you said that you put 1. Yes. Okay. So we also have a video on this one, but you're referring to it. So okay. So you have 2 listings and you want to put them into a parent. So you're going to create a brand new listing now on top of those, leave those aside. That is your parent, and that parent is going to hold these 2. So as you create the parent, the content of the parent doesn't matter, but you're going to go to variations in the parent and add these 2 listings by inputting your ASIN. But when you do that, it's going to have a quantity. And what the quantity means, you'll see you put in a quantity and a price. For this price, what quantity does the customer get? If that makes sense. That's why you put 1. Because I used to get very confused with that as well. Like, I have 500. Do I put 500? No, it works a little bit like a unit count. So you put in 1 for that price. So that's how I would do it. It works similarly to unit count, which is also a confusing thing. We won't get into that one yet. But I hope that makes sense, Pilar. Also, if that quantity is for whatever reason different, you could always, it will update because those listings have inventory. So it wouldn't just, Amazon can see there's inventory for it. So in which case could you be successful with your product being much more expensive than competitors? Simply if the product is just way better. So that's the key. If it's going to be more expensive, you need to have a lot more benefits. But you also need to have you need to be in a market, a premium market which accepts those higher prices. Okay, I'm just scrolling through here. And CJ actually added here 170 per product, actually very good profit and able to ship more units, so the shipping cost per unit is lower. This is the type of I love that because that price, like that level, you're going to be able to absorb like a lot of the shipping. Um, there were actually articles on that, like Nike and those companies are not being impacted as much as a lot of sellers like ourselves because they have that premium. This is a cool question. So pricing strategy when you launch. The first thing I'll say is raising your price can be difficult on Amazon. If you raise your price too quickly, let's say I raise my price just $5, like bang at once on like a $20 product, and my sales drop off, Amazon's going to say you're overcharging customers and they're going to take my buy box away. And when they take the buy box away, you can't run PPC ads. So now you're in a predicament where, in order to get the buy box back, you have to make sales, but you can't sponsor the product with PPC. It's a horrible place to be. So just be very, very careful. Raise your price slowly over time. So instead of $5 once, do $1 every 2 days for the next 10 days. And then what I like to do is every time I raise the price, I will run aggressive PPC. So I'm just making sure it's very visible, make some sales at the new price point, tell Amazon it's all good, customers are happy, etc. So Claudia, I just want to preface it with that. But at launch, I like to start at a bit of a lower price. So say your goal price is $40 or $39.97, then start at $34.97, like $5 less. You might even start at $29.97, depending on your margin. But the purpose of it is value versus price. We need good reviews in the beginning. So when a Vine voice or just a normal customer purchases our product, we want them to say, wow, I gave up very little for that amount of value. This is a really good product. And our first reviews are good. And then obviously over time, as you get more social proof and the market tells you your product is very good, they're essentially saying it's way worth this price. Naturally, it's capitalism. You can then raise the price a little bit. So that would be my strategy on that for sure. Yes, Hardy dolls are crazy here. That's awesome, CJ. Ride service. So, okay, so you're just answering some of the other ones. Okay, this one. Let's see. I found a nice product, but only one person selling this in the UK market. There's no patent. This guy's making 25K a month, and according to Helium 10, I can't really check selling history because it's new. So, Lucas, it could be a good opportunity. It's very difficult for me to say. Why is there only one individual selling that product is what I would look more into. Difficult for me to say on that data. Everyone's trying to compare the tools. Do I need to use a business bank account? So you can actually start as an individual seller or a professional seller. You can also start as an individual and upgrade to a professional seller. But the best, in my opinion, is to start out with a company, a business, a company and a company bank account. That's my preference. Company bank account, professional seller account is just my preference. But you don't have to do it that way. This chat is too funny. So a few days back. Okay, yes, we'll go over all the fees next week as well. And I just want to see how many we have here. Okay. I'm just trying to find some here we haven't really gone into yet. And for time, guys, but thank you very much for all the questions. Otherwise, we'll be here for 8 hours. Okay, we'll do that. All of you are answering these questions for me, so thank you. So this one, I want to take this one. So, Arunima, is it worth going for an FBA mentorship, like a membership or a course for someone who's running his or her own FBA business and teaching other people, since they're aware about all the details and mistakes? So the key with this is you can do FBA by yourself without anything else. You can 100% do that, and that's how self-starters usually do it. However, going with a membership or a course or something like that, it's going to help you skip a lot of mistakes, but it also gives you other things like a community, uh, people you can bounce ideas off of, etc. So it really just depends on your nature and what you're looking for, but also budget. And does that work with your, starting budget, which we covered here as well? So it just depends on you. Overall, there is a lot to learn. That's what I would say. But you can learn it either way. You can work it out and kind of nitpick everything together, or you can follow a structured syllabus specifically step by step. And that's the value of a put together membership or course. So it really is your decision. Personally, what would I recommend? If you're a self starter, don't mind taking more time, open to make mistakes and learn from them, go it alone. If you do want a course or membership, I definitely recommend AFM. That's the one where I do teach. I do a more professional thing there, and I'll link that below as well. And Pilar, I always ship or source DDP, which means delivered duty paid. In other words, the freight forward does everything, or even the manufacturer does everything until it lands at the Amazon warehouse. But is there much cost difference in the price with FOB? And if so, do you have a recommendation? Pilar, my recommendation is DDP. That is great because one of the bigger things, even if you save a couple dollars, is your time and the stress of it. It's their obligation to cover all those different parts of the supply chain. So I think DDP is awesome. Good job. And Verve, should I launch a variation as well after launching the first product? Because all the competitors have started to do the variations. I would hold off. That's great. Let them market test it, and then you go off of that. It's very difficult to see if you open like Chrome extensions. It's very hard to see, okay, which variation sells best. But one of the ways around that is obviously if competitors list them separately, then you will be able to see. Or which ones are they using on the front of the PPC ad? That's probably the best variation. So those are just some ideas. I would hold off and see what happens. Should the main image of your product include everything? Okay, so should it include everything separately or combined? For instance, if a water bottle comes in a sleeve, should it be separate? So my opinion is separate, and the reason is just marketing because it looks like more. People want more. So that's just my opinion on it. It looks like less if it's together, but it's also product specific. Like some where that utility is very critical, of course it should be combined. But in a lot of cases, separate's way more powerful. Okay, guys, and I'm going to just pick a couple more here. And coding. I'm getting 30 boxes of my product for upcoming launch. I want to launch the same product US and UK to test. I'm thinking to launch 10 boxes in 3 countries. Do you recommend? So coding, my recommendation to most sellers is the US market. And it remains that now, even more so now. The reason being is each listing has like a work cost or an energy cost, a setup cost. And if you create a listing on the US or UK, it's the same amount of work, really. But the US, because of the sales volume, gives you a lot more back for that initial work you've put in with the supplier, with everything. So there's higher sales potential. But the UK is also getting even more complicated now with, Europe versus UK being separate, all the VAT stuff changing. So there's certain things which make it more complex as well. So that's just my personal opinion, but there's nothing wrong with testing this in smaller quantity. My inkling is that you would likely be better off looking specifically at the US market, the competition there, how to differentiate the product, and putting all your resources into developing it better for the US market alone at this point in time. That would just be my inkling. But again, you can definitely do that. My concern is that these markets are really different. So to market test them, the products would likely actually need to be a bit different for each of those markets. For example, the UK is often more price sensitive than the US. Not in all cases, but in some. So that would just be my other concern, is they're not exactly uniform. Um, but either way, I think you would get very good data. So this has also been a big question, is the listing optimization video when you can send me your listings and I just randomly choose from the list. We will definitely be doing another one of these because I can tell you guys really enjoyed that. So thanks for letting me know, and we will be doing it soon. Okay, we did that, how to hunt without tools. And I'm sorry, guys, if I miss your questions. We're just going on 1.5 hours now. It's not pre-recorded, easy money. And Huam, how often do I answer questions on the FB group? So my goal with that is I answer every question, but within 48 hours. I put it as that because I don't want to overpromise. I often answer sooner. It just depends how much other stuff's going on. But I aim to answer within 48, often sooner. But I know that's why a lot do join, is you want to be able to ask direct. So that's what I try and provide there. Although there are other awesome sellers in there who also jump in. And wow, there is a lot here. I'm not going to be able to get to everyone. I'm sorry. Join the next one real early. Notifications on. Like this video. Subscribe. Let's see. But thank you guys very much for joining and putting all the questions here. Some of them, what I can do is actually save them for the next one we do and actually make content on them like I did at the beginning of this one. So they are not in vain. Okay, let's see. Let's do one more here just for time. A lot of these we did answer earlier as well. Are we going to end it with that? So Hussein, software-wise, Zero is very good. That I do use Zero. And then in terms of Amazon Europe, with all of it, I do recommend Osome, which you can also find below within our services link. Osome is very good at all of this. That's actually primarily where they're based in Europe. So they will be able to help with this type of thing. Outside of that, you also have Amavat and Avalara. Amavat, Avalara. Okay, and let's do one more. And coding, how to get my suggestions if I am in trouble. How do we contact you? Definitely through that membership. That's why we made it. It's not a big, huge fee. We really try to keep it open to everyone. It's not a money maker. Like, that's not what it is. It's really to take our very best subscribers who want to pay to be in the private group, to be able to share more privately. And also, I will be in there answering questions, as I said, in a 48-hour window is generally when I try to answer by, but I'm often on there every day. So definitely check that out. I think it's the first link below this video as well. But awesome, guys. I am going to close up. I do apologize for not getting to everyone, but these would go on forever. So do join early next time. Please do drop this a quick like if you did enjoy it. Remember, this is recorded, so you can always go back to the beginning where I actually cover like more structured content and there's graphics and cool stuff. But thank you again very much for joining. All the resources are below as well. I appreciate all of you guys. I wish you a very, very good 2022. I hope Chinese New Year is not too stressful, but that will pass very soon. Do get your orders in though, because it works like a line where like all the orders start to pack up after CNY. So the earlier, the better there. But thank you guys very much. Have an awesome weekend, and I will chat to you soon. All right, guys. Bye.